As more and more people are getting the infection in the country, with India's R rate or reproductive rate at about 1.44, questions are now being raised now about whether we are now arriving at herd immunity or not. So what are we? Are we a country with herd immunity? Experts are weighing in.
Swathes of the Indian population, young and old, are down with COVID-19.
सब कुछ करिए ऐसा कि जिंदगी बच जाए या फिर खत्म कर दिए जहर देकर इंजेक्शन। जो हमारी माताएं बहनें जितनी एडमिट हैं उनको इंजेक्शन दिलवा दीजिए, मर जाए।
The exposure to the infection to SARS CoV-2 is at an all-time high, with the reproductive rate at a shocking 1.44% of the population, which means one infected patient is infecting 1.5 people. But are we headed towards herd immunity? And what is herd immunity to begin with? Herd immunity is achieved when a high enough proportion of the population is vaccinated against a disease or has been infected with the disease and developed antibodies against it. Any one infected person will have the opportunity to infect less than one other susceptible person, hence halting the spread. Sero surveys or antibody surveys in India across cities have shown a high exposure to infection. But experts believe that is not really translating to herd immunity. Delhi, for example, had shown extreme exposure to COVID-19. At levels safe to say, the population was reaching herd immunity. But that wasn't the case.
We are seeing some people who are having infection again, who had got infection last year also. So it has to be looked at very carefully. I would say sero surveillance data are helpful, but they cannot really guide treatment to a large extent, because if we said the sero survey in Delhi showed that more than 50 to 60% people had already got infection, then that data would suggest that we are already achieving herd immunity and we should not have seen so many cases in Delhi. So I think we need to be very careful how we interpret sero survey data.
In fact, the last sero survey done in India showed that more than 21% of India's adult population had been exposed to COVID-19. The Indian Council of Medical Research noted that 21.4% of more than 28,000 people surveyed above the age of 18 showed exposure to the virus. But it also said that a large part of the population is still vulnerable to COVID-19. This means we are still far from herd immunity.
Immunity is an elusive concept as of now, because most countries are seeing multiple waves. Some of them are even seeing fourth wave. What we need to ensure is we have battle-ready workforce that can immediately mount a response whenever there is a wave affecting the country. Also, we need to ensure that vaccination is the only weapon to ensure most people are protected, rather than assuming that people will attain herd immunity through the infection.
Worse, the virus is changing its form, and this makes experts feel that there should be no reliance on herd immunity from widespread infection.
The virus is changing its face. There are a number of mutants which are circulating, which are increasing, which may evade immunity. And so, again I say, because of all these things, it's very difficult to achieve herd immunity in India, and this virus is going to simmer for a long period of time with intermittent exacerbation from time to time.
Sero surveys and antibody surveys and reliance on these to gauge if a population has reached herd immunity is a flawed model, is what many medical experts are now saying. There are cases of reinfection as well. So what do we really have before us? What we have is the vaccination, and what we also have is adherence to COVID-appropriate behavior, which is going to keep us safe, at least to some extent. In New Delhi, Sneha Mordani for India Today.